I'm pretty sure that I should have known that this was not going to go well for me, you know? Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and welcome. My name is Lee Cara, and yes, I am back. I hope everyone is having a fabulous week. It has been a crazy, busy, tired 2 weeks for me. So I dropped out of life for a little while. So I should have known that this fall was coming for me, right? My last 2 shows, I realized this like in the middle of all of this stuff that's been going on with me. My last 2 shows, literally, one was dealing with chronic pain, and the other was, are you exhausted? I'm pretty sure that I should have known that this was not going to go well for me, you know? Anyways, all right. We're all in. If I'm alone, I'm alone. It's all good. So, kids have been back in school for a couple of weeks. Life is rolling forward. All is well, right? And, I think we talked about actually the emotional signs, the spiritual signs when you're exhausted the last time. We're going to go a completely different direction today. I'm feeling a little bit recharged. I'm feeling a little sassy, y'all. So watch out, because I got my mouth on me today. So what I want to talk about today, by the way, you are watching Unleash Your Light. Unleash Your Light is all about overcoming emotional obstacles that keep us separated from that divine energy that is us, that dwells within us, that embraces us and loves us and is a part of us that we ignore, push away, try to deny, say it doesn't exist. Try to do everything we can to think that we're smarter than that energy. And I mean, it is us. So technically, I guess we're not smarter than the energy, but our human also like adds in a bunch of stuff. I know. Oh, my cat's going crazy. Someone's here with us today. So Unleash Your Light is all about overcoming emotional obstacles to keep you separated from that divine light within. Well, what the heck is the point of that divine light within? You probably already know that because you are watching me. So you already know what that divine light within is. However, for those of you who don't know what that divine light is, it is the energy of God, light, Gaia, source, creator, call it Fred. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you are seeking it. So that energy is inside each one of us. And here we all are waking up and realizing that. So once we realize that we have this light within us, once we are saying, I see that there's more out there. And if you're interested in the stages of the awakening, if you're really, really beginning of your journey, I do have a video called The Real No BS Stages of Awakening. And you can take a look at it. I'll put the link in there. So this is our topic today. How does spirituality and practicality save the world? Hey, we all want to save the world. In fact, that's one of the stages of the awakening, is you get in this space where you want to save everyone. And you will literally talk to everyone you know. You will mission. Good morning, Rudolph. You will mission to everyone you know. You will go through all of this crazy stuff. And literally people lose their families, people lose their jobs, people lose their standing in society by jumping into this and becoming a missionary and saying, you all have to change to fit what I want in this world. Or you all, it's so easy. I don't understand why you don't just blah, 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 and then you're going to be free. This is all very similar to the tactics of religion, of Christian religion in particular. And once upon a time, if you didn't agree with them, like now we just have a discussion and the other person walks away, it used to be that there would be a war because your people don't want to believe what my people say is true. And so then they would fight, which kind of breaks the covenant of spirituality and that connection to Creator if you are willing to destroy other people to try to share the word of light, God, divine, source, Creator, Fred said. So literally Christianity took it so far as to force people at spear point, gun point, sword point to join Christianity. Now, we don't want to do that with spirituality. We, as the spiritual community, and I'm using the royal we here, we in the spiritual community, we recognize that people have to come to it themselves. Now, but when we first get it, we want to share it with everyone, and we want to force it down their throat. Now, why is this? Why do we in the spiritual community fall so easily into the traps and the standards and the processes and the routine from the past? It's what we know. It's what the ego wants to do. It's how we're always trying to make the world look familiar to us. And we're always trying to confirm and validate what we think is right. And so by forcing someone else to believe what you believe, now you are 2. And then if you each go out and find more, now you are 4. Now you are 8. Now you are 32. Now you are 64, on and on and on, right? And so then we feel comfortable because we're in a group of like-minded people. But when you are the only spiritual person in your circle, when you are the only Christian in your circle, when you are the only, devotee of snails in your circle, anytime that you're in that kind of a situation, we don't want to be the only ones there. We want someone else to be in the boat with us so we can know, oh, see, I must be believing this right because this person believes the same thing I do. And I come across that a lot in my spiritual practice because I didn't come across my spirituality in the same way a lot of people did. Some people studied for years. Some people dug into the history and the research. And some people have studied theology and religions and all this kind of stuff. I didn't do any of that. They talked directly to me. So I just started writing what they told me to write. I learned as I went along, and I actually don't look up anything if I can help it. I ask for the guidance, at least when it comes to spirituality. I ask for the guidance of, am I supposed to know this? Is this a part of my journey? Spirituality goes in a lot of directions, and all those paths are not for me. But the destination of unconditional love and living through the highest, best energy of the universe, that is definitely for me. So, but all the paths to get there are not, right? And so if I was the type of person that was put off by that, I would want 10 other people to say, hey, we believe the same thing you do. And thus it begins. But we do this in our regular lives with the word of spirituality, like they call it the word of God, with the word of spirituality, which is there is no word except for love. And it's about overcoming stuff, and it's about connecting with that thing that's already in us. It's about believing that we are not damaged. You know, Christianity tells us we're damaged from birth. We're damaged merely by existing. Spirituality says the exact opposite. While Christian manuscripts say God is within us. When you go to a church, a standard church, they tend to say God as if God is out there. Now, God is out there and in here, so you don't have to point outwards or look upwards for God. God is right there, if that's what you want to call God. Light, source, divine, Fred, doesn't matter. Now, how can our spirituality be used then in the real world if we aren't going out and missioning? Right? As a spiritual person and in the spiritual community, we recognize that we are now a free will planet. We've always been a free will planet, but we're a free will planet. And everybody has a choice in what they want to do. And if we add in technology, now you have a million more choices for what you're going to do, whether it's your worship, whether it's what you're eating, whether it's what you're wearing, whether it's where you're going on vacation. Like, you can literally get information, go anywhere, do anything. You have a million choices. So our choices, at least in the free societies, are open, are numerous. They are a plethora, almost infinite. Although I'm sure at some point it's not infinite anymore. It appears infinite, right? And yet we have free will in that. So how do we get people to change? Get people to change. How do we change the world? How do we accomplish this mission? Because let me tell you, if you are a spiritual person and you are more than a few weeks into your journey, maybe you don't even need a few weeks, then you know that we're on a mission. You know that there is almost like a deadline. You know that we are trying to shift the world into a vibration of unconditional love. We're trying to shift the energy into unconditional love and away from fear. We're trying to shift the world, shift the energy, shift the vibration from fear to love. We're trying to change it. But how do we do that? How do we do that? It's not by making everyone try to do what we're doing, because not everyone is on board. Even Christianity with their swords didn't get everyone on board. So what is it that we do in our everyday life that actually affects our mission? And how does what we go through spiritually apply in real life? Because I think a lot of us don't look at our everyday life through the lens of spirituality. They're almost like two separate things. Like people who go to church on Sundays and then act the fool all week, right? Or even in the church, they're already gossiping and they're already telling stories about this one and that one. And maybe they, lied to that one, and maybe they stuck a few sugar packets in their purse. I don't know. But you see this, I'm going to say all the right things and do all the right things. I'm going to read all the right books. And then almost like there's a watertight seal, none of that knowledge seeps into your actual being. All of that knowledge stays academic, right? This is where the disconnect comes. This is where the disconnect comes, is that there are people who can read everything and learn everything and know every method and be able to cast every spell and know all about the stars and the moon. But when it comes to what's going on with their sister and their difficult relationship, not only can they not figure it out, but they will often do this spiritual thing that we do now, that's about her. That's her energy. That's how she's feeling about it. And if she doesn't like it, then that's on her. I'm just speaking my truth. I'm just doing what's right for me. Now, yes, of course, you're supposed to do what's right for you. And yes, of course, there's a time and place where sometimes you have to speak your mind. Sometimes you have to say things. The difference is that lens of spirituality in how you take care of that and how you deal with that. So many of us in this spiritual world have blinders on when it comes to ourselves. And I did a whole show about this. Are you blind? And it really looks at these places. And quite honestly, having walked in these circles of spirituality for the past 3 years here on Facebook, there are some seriously messed up people with lots of followers out there. There are some people whose personal flaws are borderline criminal, but who get the message from the universe, a beautiful message, an amazing message full of knowledge, full of information, full of guidance, and they do an amazing job for a lot of people. But when it comes to themselves, they're a mess. When it comes to what they're doing, it's almost illegal. When it comes to what they're doing, they're lying, they're cheating, they're stealing. And it's not because they're terrible people, right? I mean, not everyone who lies is a terrible person. Not everyone who cheats is a terrible person. Not everyone who steals is a terrible person. Not everyone who kills is a terrible person, right? Terrible person. I really don't think there are many very terrible people in this world. And if they are terrible, they've been created that way. They've been trained to be terrible. So all of these people that are leading don't address the everyday life stuff because they don't do it in their own life. They'll get in a car and slam on the horn and tell someone to F off. Not to say that that doesn't happen from time to time, but if that's your normal MOD, modus operandi, MO, if that's your normal MO is road rage, you're missing a piece of the puzzle. You're missing a piece in your regular life. It would be like a person who cleans homes for a living and goes home and their home is a wreck, trashed, disgusting. It's like the mechanic who works on cars all day and comes home and doesn't have a working car at his house or her house. So what can we do? Just regular people like me and you. What can we do to save the world? Right? And I talk about this all the time. Be the change is not specifically about action. It's not specifically about action. Yes, it's wonderful to be an activist. Yes, it's wonderful to get involved. Yes, it's wonderful to speak out and to say these things. And true, Rudolph. Yes, it's wonderful to do all of those things. However, yay, Cindy. However, the change that you can make in your life that will actually make a difference and an impact on the world is an internal change that no one sees but you. I used to have a boss. I worked in restaurants for 27 years. And I used to have a boss that he would say that it's what we do when others aren't looking that is proof of our character. And I'm pretty sure that's like a famous quote from someone else. I just remember my boss saying it. I knew it before that, but I always stick with it with him because what he used to do, and this was back in the 90s when I was working in a chain restaurant, he would take a napkin and he would put a $20 bill in it and he would ball it up like it was garbage and he'd throw it on the floor somewhere in the restaurant. He wouldn't say anything about it. He wouldn't tell anyone to pick it up. He wouldn't say, hey, there's garbage on the floor. He'd just wait, watch, see what happened. Because it's what you do when no one is watching or when you think no one is watching that is often an indicator of your true intentions, of your true heart, of what you're actually thinking, doing, saying. Let me see, clear that out. Ting, there you go. Oh, your mom was the one who said that. Okay, great. And you would be surprised at how many $20 bills went unclaimed. Or maybe you wouldn't be surprised. Because while we have a little meeting and we say, hey, make sure that you're looking around, make sure you're picking stuff up off of the ground. I literally got disqualified from him. If I found a $20 bill, I was told to put it back because I had a mindset and a vibration. Exactly. I had a mindset and a vibration that I was always on the lookout for things like that. How is the guest going to perceive that? How can we make this better? What is the perception? Let me move this. I was like a ball of energy at work, always on my mission of a great guest experience. Always. And I got disqualified from picking up these little balls with $20 bills in them because he's like, I know you're going to pick it up. I want them to do it. It's not about the garbage. So I had to like just leave this piece of garbage on the floor. That's difficult for me. That's difficult for me. But it is those things that no one can see that we do that actually change the world. There's no reward as far as like no one's coming along to give you the woo-woo trophy. Here you go, woo-woo trophy for you. You know, nobody's coming in to give you $1 million today because they watched you hold the door open for someone. There's no immediate, easily seen payoff to using that energy of spirituality in your everyday life, saving the world. Because it is those things that we do in our everyday life that save the world. And we may think, I'm one person. How the hell is me changing my attitude going to change anything? Let's look at this, okay? Let's liken this to a concert like Woodstock, okay? And if there are any youngins out there watching this on the replay, Woodstock was a huge concert back in, I believe it was 69. I just watched this amazing documentary on it, not about the music, but about the organization of it and all that kind of stuff. It was incredible. Oh, hi, Sarah. I'm so happy you're here. It was so amazing to see how all of these people, all of these hippies, all of these what they would call kids in their range from probably 15 to 25-ish and some older than that, came together. When they couldn't drive anymore, everybody just kind of hung out. And when it was obvious they weren't going anywhere, they all pulled off to the side of the road and walked together down the road. When it was obvious that there wasn't going to be security and gates, you know, people were peaceful. People just kind of wandered in. When they ran out of food, the people in the village volunteered to donate food. Huge truckloads of food were helicoptered in because they couldn't even get down the roads to it. And still, there was peace. And then it poured, rain, crazy, like outrageous storming with winds blowing. Like watching this thing, I was like, oh my gosh. And still, there was peace. And why was it like that? There were no major injuries. There were probably some bad trips, but there were no major injuries. Nobody died. Nobody was arrested. And when they left, a lot of them picked up pieces of garbage with them and took it with them to the nearest wherever you could put that. There was a peace because each person was responsible for their own actions. And they didn't allow the actions of someone else or the external things going on to affect their peace. Their zen, man. Their chill, yo. They did not allow those external things to affect them. They kept this energy with them of peace and kindness and welcome and love. And it changed the entire atmosphere of this concert. It created this entire world of joy and of peace, even coated in mud without having eaten in a day or two, you know, like no bathrooms. Like there's a lot of stuff to complain about. If that was happening today, people would be writing terrible Yelp reviews about Woodstock, right? But all of these hippies, all of these young people, what did they do? They just pieced their way through it, yo. Peace, right? They had a mindset. They did something within themselves to which there was no external reward. Nobody gave them bozo buttons or a gold star on the forehead because they didn't flip out and start tearing down towers when they ran out of food. Right? They just loved. They did not react to the external vibrations, to the external attacks from the world. They stayed in their space. They stayed in their lane. And because all of them did that, it affected the entire area. It affected the town. Good morning, Donna Davin. It affected the whole town. They did these interviews with people afterwards who lived in the town and with the farmer who allowed them to use the land. And he had nothing but praise for these young people. And he was talking about how even though so many people see them as these horrible, destructive, kids, I see them as kids. And they're intelligent and they're kind and they're helpful. And it was a wonderful weekend. And he even said, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been here and seen it. And it was a huge testimony to the power of that shared vibration. Love, man. Love, man. And you and I have the power to do this in our everyday life. You and I can bond together and do this in our everyday life, even if you have never watched me before, even if you don't know me, even if you don't know anyone that believes this, even if you live in the middle of nowhere and there is not a single solitary soul around you, you can do this. Because all you have to do is shift within yourself, is shift your energies towards that unconditional love. All you have to do is listen to what you are saying to yourself. Listen to the narrative that they call it an ego, that I like to call it the primal self, that your primal self has created. That primal self is that place of pain and suffering and trauma and self-defense mechanisms and all the things that have created this personality portion of you that is protective. A lot of people don't see it as protective. All of those things that we do, like self-sabotage, that's to protect us. Like push people away, that's to protect us. All of those things, all of those walls that we've built that are keeping us from loving, we did that to ourselves for protection. And then we hate on what we did. And then we hate on those walls. And then we hate on what we've done. And we get down on ourselves because we're feeling terrible about it. All of these things come from this primal space. Thanks, Cindy. All these things come from that primal space of suffering and trauma and pain that we as humans have been cultivating like a garden our entire lives. And the older you are, the more of those things you have. The more those things are growing all around you. And all that you see and all that you feel will filter through all of the fear, all of the anger, all of the pain, all of the self-defense mechanisms before it gets to you. Before it gets to you. And this is not the kind of filter that it's like a carbon filter in a Brita, and the water goes through it. It's going through real damn slow. And if you have a lot of junk in your water, like say you're pouring dirt water through there, eventually your filter gets clogged. And so very little of the water goes in and most of it gets stuck. So the bigger our garden full of pain, trauma, self-defense mechanisms, boundaries, and walls, the bigger that is, the longer it takes for the love to reach us, the fewer drops of love get to us, the more diluted it is, I guess. And yet, that is the magic sauce. And so what we have to do is to shift our perception of the world so that we are not looking through the lens that has been created from our pain and trauma, but rather that we look through the lens of that unconditional love, God, source, light, divine energy that is already inside of us. And I haven't done this in a while, but you wash that shit away. That stuff is not you. I've said this before, and a lot of people kind of look at me sideways when I say it. If you lost tomorrow all of your memories, if you lost tomorrow all of your memories, if you didn't have any memory of the abuse you went through, if you didn't have any memory of the pain, if you didn't have any memory of your friends, your family, your training, all of these things, tomorrow you just woke up clean slate, would you still be you? Would you still be you? And this is something that we don't think about. Because people tend to say, well, I'm this way because my life has created this, and this is why I'm so strong, or this is why I'm so mad, or this is why I'm so... We use the life that we've gone through as an excuse or a reason for why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. Hello, Leah. For why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. And we will use it as an excuse and stop and not look any deeper. I'm this way because my mother did X, Y, Z, and so I don't trust. That's in our little garden from pain and trauma, right? Fear, all that kind of stuff. So that's a wall that we've created or a mechanism that we've created to keep ourselves from being hurt. So the first thing we have to do, we have to love that. How amazing is it that I tried to protect myself? But we no longer need that protection because we are recognizing that we have the protection of love. We are recognizing that we have the protection of the divine. And we are still at our core an individualized expression of that divine energy with or without our life experiences. Yes, they have gotten us to where we are. That is the nature of time, that what you go through gets you here. And yes, what we have done, what we have chosen, how we have spoken to ourselves, the actions we have taken have gotten us to this point right now. But it is what we are doing right now that changes the next section. So the way to shift things in the world is to remove the lens of the world. Because the pain and the trauma and the suffering and the ego and all of this ego, I never like to use that word, that egoic stuff is the creation of the world. And you can remove all of that or push it to the side, or at the very least be willing to look past it so that the energy of our true selves can come out. You are still you. You are still an expression of the light. Whether or not you have that amazing, inspiring story of overcoming whatever you went through, or you are still amazing and wonderful. You are beyond amazing and wonderful, even though you're still telling that story of your traumas and what happened to you. And I often look at people who do this sort of public speaking where they go and they talk about their deepest tragedy. There are, for example, when I was in school, drunk drivers, Moms Against Drunk Drivers or something like that, MAD, was really big. And so, I mean, of course, it's tragic and it's horrible. But I want you to think about the type of emotional energy that a person who is not awake holds on to when they retell the same traumatic story about losing a child, losing a husband, losing a family member, losing a limb, over and over and over and over again, and using it to scare other people into doing the right thing. Was it effective? I'm sure it was, to a point. I'm sure it was. But imagine the level of constant pain that a person is in. It's like you're lying in salt water with nothing but open wounds. If you have to retell the story over and over again and you haven't come to peace with it. Now, if you've come to peace with it and you're able to tell the story without getting emotionally attached to it, good for you. You'll probably be all right. But if you're retelling that story again, you are keeping yourself in the state of trauma every time you retell that story on a stage. Now, this happens in our regular life too. Every time you retell someone about that horrible divorce that you went through, you get back in those emotions of that if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention. And it brings back the trauma as if it's happening right now, because our brains cannot differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. Our brains cannot differentiate in many cases between something that is a visualization and something that is an actualization. It's probably not the right way to say that. And so, because our brains do not always want to cooperate, our brains like to replay movies. I'll call it our brains. It's really that place of pain. We are comforted by our pain. We like to replay that pain. We like to replay it over and over again like it's our greatest hits. I did a show once called something about what record are you playing over and over again, or what record is stuck on repeat for you. We will play these same boohoo, poor me stories over and over and over again. And that is not to belittle anyone's pain, because pain is pain. Whether it's because somebody died or whether it's because somebody, I don't know, lied to you. Pain is pain. But it is the recognition of how we react to that pain and how we use it to heal and move forward that is the difference between a person in the regular world and a person in the spiritual world. It is the differentiation right there, because people who are not in the spiritual world will use all those bad things to build themselves a castle that they can stand on top of and say, I made it, I survived, and all of you shall now face my wrath or my success, and screw you, I am successful now, and I'm going to stick it to you and get my revenge, show you. All of that is created by an earthly thing. This earthly urge of, even though I had this giant garden full of pain and trauma, I overcame it, which is a great thing. But when you stand up there at the top and you've climbed up all of the thorns and you're still unhealed, and now you're screaming at the world that they're going to see, watch, things are not going to go well. Things are not going to happen the way that you think they're going to happen. Whereas, if you are able to create this success merely by clearing away your garden, merely by pulling out the roots, merely by doing a little bit of hoeing, a little bit of gardening and clearing this stuff out, there's no need to build a giant castle. Castles keep you separated. There's no need to create a huge wall. Walls keep you separated. The thing that truly strengthens an awakened person is the energy that they allow to flow in. The thing that truly strengthens a spiritual person is that unconditional love that they feel for each person that they meet. Now, how does this translate in the real world? Because we allow society to dictate a lot of things to us that we will ignore our empathy, our unconditional love, because society says it's like this, X, Y, Z. I'll give you an example. And trigger warning, I'm giving you a difficult example here. So if we look at the states here in the US, and it is 2019, August, if you are watching, September, if you're watching this in the future. We are in a very tumultuous time in our country. And there is a huge separation to the point that relationships are destroyed over political affiliations. If you follow Trump, there are people who will hate you, who will refuse to speak to you. Families have been broken up. Marriages have been broken up. People have been killed. There have literally been murders over the presidency. And so now the way that I'm saying that may sound like I'm one of those people. I have a friend who, this is not the example. I have a friend who's constantly putting up posts about how great Trump is and how stupid all the liberals are. Okay. And he's certainly welcome to his opinion. But here's the thing that he doesn't remember. And it's been several of my friends that have done this. I am a liberal. I believe in equality. I believe in education. I believe in science. I believe that we need to be funding these things. I believe that there are human rights that every single person in the world should have. And that we need to have a human constitution and then force all the governments to go along with that. Just my take on it. But when he puts up this message, Trump is wonderful and all you liberals are stupid assholes, he gets a lot of pushback, not because people got called an asshole, right? All the liberals are not going, how dare you call me an asshole? No, they attack the person that he's praising, right? And they attack him for praising that person, okay? Because, and then that person, of course, gets angry. And it's like, I don't understand all this hate, all you guys telling me, you know, F you. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I don't understand this reaction. And then people are trying to explain to him that's because you're backing someone who does X, Y, Z. And if they hate those people, then now you are okay with them hating those people. Like it becomes this thing where we're looking at someone that we love, that we think loves us, and then they are saying bad things. And it does go both ways because people post horrible things about Trump. They do. People on the liberal side post terrible things about Trump. But my friend is not Trump personally, right? But my friend gets so angry about Trump personally that he calls the person attacking Trump out rather than just defend with facts the actual stuff, right? So the people watching, the people who know him, who are liberals, are going, I don't understand why you love this. And they're trying to figure it out and they're hurt. Because they thought they knew their friend. And now their friend is calling them stupid, calling them names, saying that everything they believe in is ridiculous and shouldn't be a thing. And that all of our fears are unfounded. All the liberal fears are unfounded and you're all just fear mongering and there's nothing going on here. Everybody look away. So this is happening in the States. If you're not from the States, maybe this is happening in your country too. I know that it's happening a lot in the UK with nationalism, with the rise of nationalism and populism. It does tend to bring out that white nationalist segment of the community. Okay. So here's the example that I was going to use where we lose our empathy, even spiritual people, because of the standards in society. So we have this thing with the border. And they changed all these policies and they weren't prepared for it. So now we have all these people that they took in, thousands, 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 15,000 people that they did not allow to go out into the world, into the States. They said, you can't come into the States. You're here illegally. You're immediately a prisoner because we didn't find you eligible for asylum, which they changed a lot of the stuff that they allow in for asylum to make these people now illegal. But rather than do anything with them, they literally just incarcerated them. And so they're living in these cages, but they don't have enough cages, or they're living in these small rooms with too many people and not enough toilets, not enough anything. And it's this basically bureaucratic nightmare going on. And I don't ever want to think that it's someone's intention to purposefully hurt what is most likely an innocent person. Okay. It is never, I don't want to think that it's anyone's intention to purposefully hurt a child or neglect a child or abuse a child, right? Any of us, anyone watching this would say, it's not okay to abuse a child, even if their parent is a criminal. right? So people go to jail, their kids go into foster care. It's not okay to hurt the kids in foster care because their parents are criminals, right? We all know that. We all understand this as a logical thing and as a heart thing. None of us would ever walk up to a child and say, I'm going to keep you in a cage and not feed you, or I'm going to put you in a space where you're overcrowded, or I'm not going to change your diaper 6 times a day like I should. You're going to get 1 diaper a day. Get used to it, kid. None of us in regular life would ever do this. And if we brought our kids to a daycare center that was doing that, we would immediately report them and they would be shut down. But here in the States, this is what is happening. And so a large portion of liberal people are speaking out and screaming about this. And it is happening. That's not fake. It is a real thing. That's not fake. Are all the details of it exactly correct? Maybe, maybe not. But it is happening, and children are dying. More children are dying in this custody. More people are held now, almost than ever in our history. And it's secretive. But it's bureaucratically secretive because they were just trying to figure out where to put people, and they just started sending them away and not really keeping track of that kind of stuff. Any place that was empty, they stuck them, right? Now, you get into a conversation with people who you know have a heart, with people who are, wonderful, kind, loving, spiritual people. There are spiritual people who think that Donald Trump is the Messiah who is going to bring us out of the cabal and reveal all of the child pedophilia rings and save the world. There are people who believe that. So you have these conversations with people about this topic, and even with evidence, they will say, no, I support Trump. That's not happening. They will just ignore it. They will allow the society to overcome their unconditional love. And if we want to put it on the other foot, because people always say, Antifa, okay, first of all, let's just remember that's anti-fascist, which anti-fascist is good. I don't agree with their methods because I never agree with violence. I am a pacifist, right? So I can look at the things that they do that are violent and say they shouldn't be violent. Me personally, I can do that. As a liberal, they shouldn't be violent. I can appreciate their message, but the way they're getting it out is not right. The way that they're executing this is not correct. I can do that. But there are many liberals who will not, who say we should be mad, we should be up, we should be da-da-da-da-da. They aren't using their heart. When you come up as a fighter, the other person puts up their sword and their shield. And we go at each other, fighting over stupidity while the world is being changed around us and we're not even paying attention. But this is how we are skipping our empathy. We are losing our empathy in this world. This is where spirituality comes in, because you recognize, this is just an example, you can recognize those places in yourself where you are seeing the societal response rather than the heartfelt response. Because if one of those Trump supporters comes face to face with a cage full of kids who haven't been bathed in days, who don't have toothbrushes, who are sleeping 50 to a room, and they brought their kids down to play and sent them into that cage, they would have a very different attitude about it. Or would they? Or would they continue to allow the societal standards to tell them what's right and what's wrong? And because they support Trump, it's okay to put that kid in that situation because, well, his parents shouldn't have brought him. Well, they're illegal. They're criminals. They shouldn't have come. Have you ever sped? Did you ever break the speed limit? Did you know that that makes you a criminal? That's breaking the law. It's not a violent crime. They're talking about letting all criminals who didn't do violent crimes out, or not all of them, but a lot of them out in this next criminal reform thing they want to do. There is this space where we choose to maintain the status quo of society over the love in our hearts. This happens with forgiveness as well. When there is a shooter, when there is a bomb that goes off, when there is an attack on something, we lose our empathy and we stop seeing the other person as a human with a heart, who has feelings. We stop seeing the shooter as someone who is in pain. We stop seeing the people who are bombing as people who are trying to live in the way that they think is right for them. And they think this is the only way to make that statement. Do I agree with it? No, I don't. I'm a pacifist. I never think that we should use violence to make a point. However, I also can see the other side of this. So how do we take those societal standards and shift them? Out in the real world, we do it one person at a time, just like at Woodstock. If there had been even 50 people that were bitching and complaining and decided they were going to raise hell because there's no damn food here, and I paid to get up here, even though some people paid, some people didn't. Maybe this one of the people paid. I paid to get here. I walked 10 miles to get here. You don't even have a damn sandwich for me? Screw that. I'm ripping things apart. And if 50 people had joined in on that, it would have been a riot, trashed. We would be talking about it as the biggest, most horrible thing that happened to the United States. It would have been horrendous. We'd still be talking about it in a bad way today. But each person became responsible for their own attitudes, for their own way of living, for their own belief systems, and for how they conform to society. Because if you had some squares in there, man, they probably would have been complaining that they couldn't get their Fago. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it would have been a thing. It would have been a problem because they were looking for their societal standards. Because they were conforming with what has given them the feedback, the positive feedback. Because when you fit in, the world rewards you. The world, society rewards you. When you do what everyone else does, you continue along like the lemmings. But just by shifting your own energy, you can change that. You can save the world. Just by paying attention to those moments when you catch yourself saying something like, oh, that person should get a job. When you see someone sleeping on a park bench, why don't they find some place to go? Why didn't that person get a job? Look, they're on a cell phone. I see a phone right in their bag. Why don't they have a job? Or when we see young mothers who don't have money having problems with their kids in the store, or even young mothers who do have money and the kids are acting out and the moms don't know what to do, and we're condemning them. Terrible mom, what the hell is wrong with you? Or that's a rotten kid. You know what would help more? And you don't have to do anything. I'm not telling you to go up and help the lady. Send positive energy to that child. Send positive energy to that woman. When somebody is angry at you, send them some positive energy while they're screaming at you. They're in their feelings. They're in their, I need this person to believe what I believe moment. Shift that energy. Shift that calm. And you guys know, because I've said it a million times, everybody knows someone when they walk in the room, it's like, oh God, this person. And everybody knows someone when they walk in the room, it's like sunshine, everyone's happy, woohoo, yay, they're here. And they haven't said a word. It's the energy that they're carrying around with them. It's the energy that you're carrying around with you that changes the world, that tips the scales, that shifts the people around you. Some people can't deal with it. You know what? They'll fall off. But you don't let them fall off like, get away from me. You're negative. You're this. You're that. Da 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 da. No, it's in love. Hey, man, it's all good. I'm not for everyone, but come back when you're ready for it. You know, it's okay. It's not always an easy thing, but it's definitely a good thing. All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap it up now. So this is a grand experience being over here on my regular page. You can find me on Thursdays at 10 a.m. right here at Unleash Your Light on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. Please go over and help me build my YouTube subscription base. I would greatly appreciate it. I do put videos up there that are edited from from my show. So you guys know I do 35, 45, 55, today an hour shows. I cut them down. I put bullet points. I put all kinds of extra stuff in there so you can get your little taste of Unleash Your Light in a smaller, more succinct package without all the filler. Although the filler's fun sometimes, right, guys? Okay. And if you want to pre-order my new book, you can go to unleashyourlight.org. Now, this is not a new book. This is an old book. However, this is a newly published book, a newly published version of this book. It will be out in November. You can pre-order now for $12. When it goes on sale, it's going to be $16. So you're actually getting quite the bargain. It is going to be paperback size, and you will be able to take notes, highlight, write in the corners, rip out pages, do whatever the heck you want to do it. I'm going to have little pages in there for journaling. It's pretty cool. And my son designed all the artwork for it, so it's pretty neat. Okay, guys, I love every single one of you. I hope that I will see you in the very near future. Have a fabulous weekend, and join me right back here. And hey, you know what? I'm going to start a lot of new shows. I'm going to be doing a lot of readings. I'm going to be doing a lot of other crazy stuff, interviewing people, and I don't know, I'm free over here, so I can do whatever the heck I want. Now I'm feeling a little better. You never know what's going to come around. Maybe some old friends, maybe some new friends. Who knows? We will see. We will see. All right. I love you guys. Mwah.